Dear cosmic citizen from Earth and beyond the stars, welcome to this episode. As we transition into a higher state of consciousness together with our beloved Mama Gaia, we begin to reconnect with more than just the world around us, with who we truly are. And from that space, we start to remember a different way of living, a life at slower pace, filled with passion, guided by something deeper, a sovereign life, where truth guides our choices, where love guides our actions, where clarity guides our minds, where compassion guides our hearts, and where dignity shapes our lives. Join us as we lay the foundation for this magnificent future on the new earth. Take a breath, take a seat, open your heart, and let the journey begin. Without any further ado, let's jump right into this exciting new episode and explore how we will start building our dream world together. If you have watched all the previous episodes, you will probably start to recognize the main theme that runs through everything I share here. My goal is simple yet profound: to awaken and to gather like-minded cosmic citizens, to gather the pioneers of our passion-based society, people who are ready to consciously participate in creating something extraordinary, people who understand that we are not here merely to survive, but to create. At the heart of this vision lies a very important realization. We choose our own authority over external leadership out of awareness, because we understand who we truly are. However, let's pause for a moment. Does this mean that this community is only for pioneers? Not at all. This amazing community is for everyone who feels called to join. At the same time, it is important to manage expectations for myself and for all of us. Let me explain. Back in 2016, I decided to start a new hobby, inline skating. I bought skates with the biggest wheels available because I wanted to ride smoothly over the rugged streets of the city. But those big wheels made it even harder to feel comfortable in the beginning. In the first few weeks, it felt difficult to really improve. So I decided to take lessons from an incredible skater named Ivo Vechter, who in my humble opinion runs the best inline skate shop in the Netherlands. That's when things started to shift, because now I was doing focused drills with like-minded people who were learning too. And that is the best way to learn anything in life, together with others who are on the same journey, not from a specialist with trophies and medals, but from people who are growing just like you are. And still, it was a grind. There were moments where I even fell out of love with skating, mostly because of my busy schedule, or better said, the busy schedule in my mind. Because the truth is, nothing in this world happens instantly, and following your passion is no different. Listen, anyone can do it if you take it step by step. There's no need to take unnecessary risks, because yes, we need money to live, to support ourselves, to build stability. So if you already have a stable income, start there. Write down your passion. Explore what it would take to begin small, simple, alongside your current life. Create a plan, set realistic goals. Okay? That's important. Even if you feel called towards something completely new. That's how real change begins. Gradually, intentionally. And remember this, life is a journey, and we're here to enjoy the path we choose. Okay? When you choose from the heart, it becomes so much easier to build something truly meaningful. And for this new way of living, it starts with us, with how we speak, how we respond to one another, how we raise our children, and what we choose to teach them. It's about living from the heart instead of just the mind. So when I say that I want to start building our golden future right now, I truly mean it. But it begins with small steps, always. Listen, life is imperfect by design. We feel incomplete, separated, even alone, as if we're distant from God. But that's only the experience, the opposite of the truth. Because at our core, we are already whole. perfect, abundant, connected to everything, okay? And so we experience limitation so we can remember and grasp infinity. We experience time so we can recognize the eternal. We experience separation so we can rediscover unity. Because only through contrast do we really come to know who we are. So because everything is immediate in the paradise of God, everything takes time here on earth. That's the same contrast. The first step is simple. We come together here in this community and we begin to envision the world we want to live in. Then we take it further. We start small. A small group of pioneers with a shared vision, a living example, a first spark. Because this is just the first drop of water and it takes many drops to form a river, right? But this journey will be exciting. And you, my dear subscribers, are the ones making this possible. You are the core of this movement, and I'm deeply grateful that you're choosing to walk this path with me. Thank you. To everyone watching these videos, to you also, thank you. My promise to you is this: we will begin building this new society without any doubt if it's up to me. Okay? And that's exactly what we're going to explore now in this episode. However, some of you may want to build a dream world but simply don't believe you have the power to do so. Others don't feel the urgency at all. They say this is just the way life is and nothing can change that. But take a moment and really look at the world we live in today. We are caught in a rat race. And on the surface, life in OPEC countries in Asia, Europe, North America may seem superior compared to other parts of the world. But beneath that surface, the truth tells a different story. Mental illnesses are rising. Deadly diseases are skyrocketing. So we have to ask why? Well, because of stress, because of pressure, an unbearable, constant pressure to perform, to succeed, to keep up with the demands of the monetary system. And on top of that, we consume unhealthy food loaded with salt, sugar, and artificial substances. Okay? And as we discussed in the previous episode, even our tap water contains traces of substances that do not belong in pure water. Listen, folks, if you wish to live on the new earth, it's time you become fully aware. The truth is, we've been conditioned for far too long. Conditioned to believe that authorities hold all the power, while religious people believe that their saint holds all the power and that we must honor them and worship them, sometimes to the point where we stop truly listening to their teachings. Because when you look closely, the main focus for many Christians has become the birth and the death of Master Jesus Christ, while his message, how to live, how to be, is often overlooked. And yet, he warned us. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. Now, what does this truly mean? The Son of Man is how Jesus referred to himself. Does this tell you that he wanted to be seen as someone above humanity or as someone walking among people? Okay? Don't just think, feel it. Listen, let's go deeper, all the way back to the original Greek. The phrase is litron antipolon. Forgive my Greek. And this is how it was written. Most translations will tell you this means a ransom for many. And yes, on the surface, that might be correct. But here's the interesting part, okay? Because Jesus often spoke in parables, and his words were rarely meant to be taken at a surface, literal level. He spoke in layers. He spoke in a way that it required you to feel instead of just think. For those who have ears to hear, let them hear. So what if we have been reading this too flat? Listen, Jesus spoke from an enlightened state of being. Translators work from a mental, linguistic level. Keep that in mind, okay? Now let's zoom in on two words because both matter. The first, litron. At its core, this word is not just about money or payment, It's about release, about loosening, about setting someone free. So the heartbeat of this sentence is freedom. And then comes the second word, anti. Most people hear that and think in place of, instead of, a transaction, a replacement. But within deeper linguistic and spiritual interpretations, anti can also be understood as for the benefit of. Now feel what happens when you make that shift from a ransom for many to a life given for the benefit of many. That changes everything. Suddenly, this is no longer about a transaction. It's about intention. It's about a life lived in such alignment, such truth, such love, that it liberates others. And maybe that's the language Master Jesus was really speaking, a language of awakening. So instead of asking what was the price, maybe the deeper question is, what was he showing us? Because if his life was the message, then the invitation becomes very personal. Can you live in a way that benefits many? Can your presence, your choices, your awareness become something that frees others? When you look at enlightened teachers in our time, like Eckhart Tolle, like Moji, you begin to see a pattern. They don't come to pay anything for us. They come to point you back to your true nature. And maybe that's the same way we can look at Master Jesus. Not as someone making a transaction, but as someone offering his life, his presence, and his teaching so that many could become free. Okay? Not through sacrifice in a traditional sense, but through alignment with something higher. Because when you shift from in place of to for the benefit of, you move from worship, with all due respect, into a personal realization of that same presence. And that is where the true meaning begins to open. So we have to ask ourselves, have we shifted the focus away from what truly matters? Because throughout history, narratives have been shaped, sometimes in ways that serve those in power. And that is exactly why in the next episode we will take a deeper dive into the life and teachings of Master Jesus Christ. Isn't that truly exciting, folks? But for now, we must face the truth of the life we are living today. Our habits, what we eat, what we drink, how we live under stress every single day. Awareness is where everything begins, but awareness only grows when we start questioning what we once accepted as normal. For example, in the Low Countries, we tend to brush off any concerns about our tap water. Why? Because for decades, official sources have reassured us that our tap water is completely safe to drink. And when authorities repeat something over and over again, it becomes common understanding. It becomes belief. So when a different branch within those same authorities raises a concern, most people don't even pay attention. But this is where it gets interesting. We've been hearing our entire lives that our water is safe to drink. So when someone questions it, it feels like calling out in an empty desert. But here's the uncomfortable truth, folks. Even if the residues found in our tap water are not at immediate risk levels, we consume this water every single day, day after day, glass after glass, year after year. So ask yourself honestly, do you really believe your body just magically filters out all those residues like some kind of perfect eraser? Because the reality is it works differently. The uncomfortable truth is that we are being exposed to substances that do not belong in pure water for far too long. And at the same time, we are seeing more and more illnesses in our world today. Autoimmune diseases, cancer, dementia, and many others. Yet, we are not connecting the dots. When people present proof showing that our tap water contains more than just water using simple testing devices, the standard response is those are probably just healthy minerals. And people accept that. Why? Because they trust authority without questioning it. But let's take a step back. Where does our water come from? In the Dutch capital Amsterdam, drinking water mainly comes from large rivers like the Rhine River. At the same time, wastewater from our homes goes through different filtering systems before being released back into multiple canals and surface waters. From there, it flows through the system and eventually becomes part of the same water cycle again. Different steps, same system. This water will eventually arrive in our oceans. And because purification is not perfect, not everything is removed. So residues can end up affecting sea and ocean life. Now let's move to a city called Utrecht. Here, drinking water often comes from groundwater. Water that has been filtered naturally through soil for months, maybe even years. It is a cleaner source, I believe, but still part of the same reality. What we put into the environment does not disappear. It moves slowly, silently. Now, if you go further to the south, to the Ardennes in Belgium, here a specific popular mineral water brand bottles natural spring water. Okay? Rainwater that has been filtered underground for years, protected from direct surface pollution. That's why it reads almost 0.00 on simple testing devices. So it contains far less harmful residues, and at the same time it may contain also less minerals. So what are we really looking at? River water in Amsterdam, groundwater in Utrecht, and spring water in the Ardennes. Different sources, different paths, but all part of the connected system. And here's the part that matters. What enters the system through industry, agriculture, medicine spreads, dilutes, and circulates. And life in that water is exposed to it every single day. The argument that water should always contain natural minerals is an old argument which can even be dismissed today altogether, folks. Listen, we eat multiple times a day. We get our minerals from food anyway. So why this strong focus on minerals? Because it's easier to talk about minerals than to face the uncomfortable question about what else is present in the system. So the real question becomes, what would you rather have? Water that contains minerals alongside unnatural residues, or water that is as clean and minimal as possible? I think the answer is obvious, right? So please, government, stop presenting minerals in water as if they are the holy grail. This argument is old and overrated. We get our minerals from food. Water should be about one thing, water. I think we should seriously consider adding advanced filtration like reverse osmosis on top of what we have today to reduce what doesn't belong in our water, right? At the same time, we should keep improving the system itself so fewer unwanted substances enter the water in the first place. And eventually, we can move toward a much better model in our passion-based society where water systems are 100% clean at the source, separate from wastewater, and where there is an even better solution for sewage water from homes, which has no impact on our oceans. And if we bottle water, we choose glass over plastic. Now I wish to dive into a space-related topic. That's a big jump, I know. Like I said earlier, GFL Station has become one of my favorite YouTube channels. What I'm learning there about the moon and the secrets surrounding it has me go quiet, because deep down I've always felt something about the moon, that it's not just what we've been told, okay? I've had this feeling that our ancestors may have operated from there, that the moon is far more active than we realize, that beings from other stars have been traveling there, and now something is starting to click. What if we never stopped going there, folks? Think about it. Suddenly, that strange feeling I had while watching the televised moon landing makes sense. It felt staged, almost like watching a movie directed by Stanley Kubrick. And yet, at the same time, I knew we went there. Both things felt true, okay? Because I guess we did go to the moon, but not in the way we were shown. Not with the level of technology that was presented to the public, because humanity simply wasn't ready yet. Ready to understand, ready to handle it. I even came across multiple interviews on the Jeff Mara podcast, where people shared something that really made me pause. Okay? Sit down, please. Sit down and hold on to something. They claim to have worked on the moon, on Mars, on Venus, and even on other planets through what they describe as secret space programs. Wait, what? Are you mad? I know. This is hard to grasp. I know. Now, what stood out to me is that it wasn't just one person. There are multiple individuals from different backgrounds, men and women. Some with a military background, others with no clear link to the military at all. And yet, they all describe something similar. They spoke about being taken into these programs and working there for exactly 20 years. They described working with Germans, Russians, Americans, and beings from other stars, and then being returned back to Earth, back to their lives, as if nothing happened. They call it 20 and back. Okay? And what's interesting is that they describe entire structures around this. Different programs, different locations, advanced technologies, off-world environments. It raises a question. What are we actually aware of today, and what might exist beyond what we are told? Because when multiple people independent from each other begin to describe similar experiences, people who all seem quite intelligent, you start to wonder. This may be extremely hard to believe, but let's stay open. Let's stay open to explore, and maybe, just maybe, there are layers of reality that we are only beginning to touch. Now it gets even crazier, folks, because according to the same people, when their time in these programs started, their consciousness was transferred to another version of themselves, either from a different timeline or into a clone body. They believed this because while they were working in space, they had no recollection of their human life any longer. And when those 20 years were completed, their consciousness was transferred back to their original self, now 20 years younger. Others claim something slightly different, that their consciousness was placed into a version of themselves from another timeline, 20 years younger, when they returned back. Either way, their memory is wiped as if those 20 years never happened. And yet, not everything seems to stay hidden, because now, especially in this time of big revelations, people are starting to experience flashes, moments, images, feelings that don't quite belong to this life as they know it. And interestingly enough, many of them mention something else, meditation. That those who meditate regularly, who go within, are sometimes the ones who begin to remember. Even if it's just fragments at first. And this is even amplified when they watch movies like Stargate, Star Wars, or Star Trek. Now maybe this is an invitation to go within, to sit in stillness, to ask from the heart. Because if there's any truth to this, then your soul, your deeper awareness would know far more than the mind ever could. So don't just listen, explore, feel, and discover for yourself, my dear cosmic citizens. Now, isn't this wild, folks? So why am I sharing this with you, you might ask? Because at some point, these technologies will be revealed. But only when we've matured enough consciously, when we are able to use them to create instead of to destroy. And when that moment comes, everything will change. We will digest this topic further in an upcoming episode. Okay? Now let's switch back to our planet and the world today. We all live in a country with strict borders, right? The moment you cross a line on a map, suddenly you are somewhere else, a different country, a different system, a different set of rules. And within those borders, a small group of politicians is expected to represent millions of people, their wishes, their needs, their realities. When you really pause and look at that, it's almost unbelievable. No one can truly represent that many different perspectives, that many lives, that many unique paths. It's simply an outdated way of organizing society. You can already see the cracks within these borders. Take Catalonia, for instance, where many people feel a different identity than the nation they are part of. in the Dutch province Friesland, where an official language exists that carries deep historical roots distinct from the rest of the country. These are just a few examples. People don't always feel represented, and that makes sense, right? Because how can one system, one government, one leader ever truly reflect the diversity of millions? Think about it. The idea of one king or one president governing vast land masses belongs to an older way of living, and at some point it clicks. You are your own authority, remember? You begin to see that no small group of people sitting in a government building can ever fulfill all of your wishes. And you don't blame them for it, because the system itself was never designed for that. The way we've organized countries is not how we will live in the golden future at all. Now listen carefully. This is about clarity, this is about understanding. Let's approach authorities with calm and awareness. These are human beings too, doing the best they can within the system they operate in. And within governments, within corporations, there are people who actually support this awareness. There are even highly influential individuals who are willing to contribute to positive change. So understand this. We're not fighting an enemy like in some science fiction story, and truth was not only concealed by the cabal, it was also protected from us, because we were not yet ready to fully receive it. As a parent, you don't hide the truth from your child, you simply share it in a way they can understand, in a form they're ready to receive, right? And there are some topics which you hold back altogether from them, right? For obvious reasons. So let's approach this with maturity. Yes, there are people who operate from fear, and many of those beings may even fear us. Let me explain. They may fear that one day, when we fully realize what has happened, we will retaliate. But this is where we choose differently. We are not operating like they are. Remember that. We let it be known clearly and peacefully that we see what has happened, that we are aware, and at the same time we offer a healing hand. We move with compassion, we act from peace, because right here is where everything shifts. Karma stops here. That is the new baseline. We operate through awareness, unity, and conscious choice, because this is about evolution. It's simply time for us to step up, to become aware, and to start building our golden future. And it begins right here with awareness, with truth, with the courage to question, so that together we can take action. This is a new way forward, a path beyond conflict, because wars belong to the old matrix. We are walking on a new earth, okay? And we will create the paradise we truly deserve. And when I say we, I mean all of us, including Mama Gaia herself. And when we truly come together like this, something remarkable happens. Change begins to unfold naturally. For those who truly step into their own authority, we step up to participate. We step up to co-create our dream world. And for those who feel aligned with the existing narrative, they too will experience a shift at some point, okay? A gentle yet equally powerful shift, one that may begin with something familiar, the universal basic income. For some, UBI still feels out of reach. For others, it represents a powerful step toward a more balanced society. And I want to say clearly, I respect that vision with the utmost sincerity. It represents a powerful step forward compared to the stress and pressure created by the current monetary system. Systems like UBI may indeed help humanity transition into a more compassionate and cooperative society, a society where survival and anxiety slowly dissolves, and people can finally breathe again. But the cosmic citizen community chooses to take an even bigger leap. We choose to step directly into what I call a passion-based society. Why? Because we understand something sacred. When consciousness evolves, something remarkable happens. Okay? We realize that the true currency of the universe is not money, not barter, not trade. The true currency is creation from within our own authority, inspiration, and contribution. In a passion-based society, people naturally do what they love because creation itself becomes joyful. Artists create because their soul wants to express beauty. Engineers design incredible systems because they love solving problems. Teachers share wisdom because guiding others fulfills their heart. And when everyone contributes from passion rather than obligation, something extraordinary emerges. Abundance becomes natural. Now, of course, not everyone will move at the same pace, and that's perfectly okay. Those who rely on external authorities or transitional systems will follow their own beautiful path of growth. These are magnificent souls as well, each exploring life in their own unique way. This is about understanding instead of judgment. Remember that, because every soul is its own authority. And I'm simply following my passion. The fourth density world to which we will evolve, I think, will already be a massive improvement compared to the current monetary system. Much of the stress and anxiety that dominates modern life will dissolve. Humanity will rediscover cooperation, compassion, and balance. But if we look further into the future, perhaps 200 years from now, it becomes clear that humanity will naturally evolve beyond even that stage. Eventually, we will all live from our passion. Consciousness itself will guide us there, instead of someone forcing it upon us. This is something I have come to understand over the years. Humanity is not rushing toward the destination, we are unfolding toward it, step by step, awakening by awakening. And that brings me to something deeply important. Our mission can be summarized in one ancient phrase: as above, so below. What does this mean? It means that the paradise many traditions speak about, the kingdom of heaven, the higher realms, the divine harmony of existence, already exists within us, within our hearts, within our awareness. And our task is simply to build that same harmony right here on earth. It is a state of consciousness to mirror heaven through the way we live, create, and treat one another. Because heaven is more than a location alone. We can access it from within. Now that I have a different look, because I've loosened my hair and changed my shirt to match the warm weather locally, here's another beautiful truth. We are both perfect and imperfect at the same time, and that is not a flaw, it's the design. We were meant to be explorers, curious and creative beings, beings who grow, who learn, who stumble, who laugh, and who rise again. When we finally accept ourselves, meaning our strengths, our quirks, and our imperfections, something magical happens. Life stops feeling like a test we must pass and begins to feel like an adventure we get to experience. Okay? We start to realize that we were never broken, we were simply becoming. And once we truly see that, life becomes far more magical than we ever imagined. Because in that moment you remember something profound. You are the universe experiencing itself. And together, dear cosmic citizens, we are here to build something beautiful. If you have ever felt the desire to change the world, but then a voice inside you said, I don't have the power to do so, then listen carefully. If Elon Musk had that same fear, that fear would become his reality. Instead, he boldly believed that he could change the world. Now guess what? He did. So the moment you believe that limited thought, you're giving away your own authority. You're handing over the very power that was placed within you from the beginning. And that is the trap of the negative illusion. For thousands of years, humanity has been taught subtly and directly that power belongs somewhere else, to institutions, to systems, to external authorities. But the truth is far more extraordinary. The creative force of the universe lives within you. Okay? And the moment you remember that, everything changes. Now listen please, I'm here to stand beside you. I'm here to support your freedom. And I'm here to empower you. To remind you that you are far more capable, far more creative, and far more powerful than you've ever been told. You have the power to create anything you truly desire, and I mean that literally, okay? It can be something small or even mind-blowing. Remember, you are your own authority, folks. Sometimes the most meaningful things are the simplest ones, like tending a garden or sewing a beautiful scarf, or simply being there to assist others. Humans are far more extraordinary than they realize. Once we step out of the illusion of limitation, we begin to understand something profound. We are not passengers on this planet, we are builders of reality. Okay? Let it resonate with you. Which brings me to something very important, because up till now we have talked about visions, ideas, and possibilities. But now it's time for something different. Now it's time for action. Today I want to unveil my actual plan. A real plan, a tangible plan. A plan to begin building a micro version of this passion-based society right here on Earth, starting right now. And like every great journey in human history, it begins with a simple first step, a location. Before anything else, we must choose the place where the seed will be planted, right? A location that supports our vision, a place where the legislation allows innovation, creativity, and freedom of community building, a place where a new model of society can quietly begin to grow. Because that is how every great civilization has started, with a small group of people who simply said, let's build something better, right? And that is exactly what we're going to do. We move beyond words, we bring the golden age into reality. We will build it, folks, brick by brick, idea by idea, community by community. Hereby I want to make something abundantly clear. This is real, this is tangible, this is happening, folks. We are going to begin building our golden future right here on Earth, as real, as tangible, as grounded in reality as it gets. And everything begins with one simple question: where do we start? Now let me make something very clear. I want to collaborate with you to decide where we will build this, because within a passion-based society, the future is shaped by all of us. Someone begins by sharing an idea, a vision, a plan, and the people whose hearts resonate with that vision will feel it immediately. Okay? Something inside them lights up, a spark, a fire, and those are the people who choose to engage and help bring that idea into reality. That is how creation naturally unfolds in a passion-based society. People contribute because they want to, instead of being required to. We will have online platforms where these ideas can be shared, explored, and developed together. Platforms where people can present their vision, gather collaborations, and inspire others to join their mission. And the beautiful thing is this: the people building those platforms will do so because that is their passion, folks. They will create systems that support humanity simply because it brings them joy to do so. That is how we will live. Creation will no longer be driven by survival, it will be driven by inspiration. I think we all know what begins to happen when we truly start choosing our lives. When we choose what we do, where we do it, and how we shape our days, distance loses its urgency. Think about it. The need to constantly move from place to place begins to dissolve. Cars, motorcycles, bicycles, and even public transport, they naturally become less relevant because life becomes local, intentional, aligned, and from that space something even greater opens. Okay? We reconnect with our ancestors from within the earth and with our cosmic family from the stars and beyond. They don't arrive to save us, they arrive to collaborate, to share technologies that expand what we thought was possible. And for the first time, brilliant minds are free to create without limitation. This is the next chapter of humanity, and it is exciting beyond words, okay? But what truly changes, the stress begins to dissolve, anxiety fades. And that's the most important thing, I guess, okay? Many of the mental struggles we face today will lose their grip. Because we are no longer separated, we begin to move as one, stepping into our own divine authority. There is that word again, which is very important, okay? Each of us a leader, equal to others, and fully responsible for our own path. And yes, guidance will still be there, not from control, but from wisdom, from beings who have walked this path before us, guiding with clarity and love. Does this mean challenges disappear? No, challenges remain. That's just a part of life, right? But everything about how we meet them changes, because now we face them together as cosmic citizens living from the heart. Finally, we will reach a point where we are mature enough and free from fear, because fear has been the baseline for so long, right? Fear of the unknown, fear of each other, fear of what lies beyond our worlds, because open contact cannot exist where fear is leading. So what does it really mean to be mature enough? It means we are no longer reacting from survival, but responding from awareness. It means we no longer see the unknown as a threat, right? But as something to explore, to understand. And most importantly, it means we are ready to meet others as equals from a place of presence, in a time where we finally realize that extraterrestrials are our cosmic family. Beings from other stars, other atmospheres, and other dimensions of existence, and that moment will come when we are mature enough. And it will feel familiar, like remembering something we somehow always knew. A quiet realization that we were never alone, that we have always been part of something much greater, and that now finally we're ready to meet it, to meet our cosmic brothers and sisters from other countries, other religions, beings from inner earth, from distant stars, and from other atmospheres. Now, today, the platform we already have is the Cosmic Citizen Community, right? This is where the conversation begins. This is where we come together. And this is where we will start deciding where we want to begin building this first micro version of the passion-based society. Let us choose a location where we can bring this vision into practice, a place where we can plant the first seed. Our micro-civilization will be something incredibly exciting. It will be a living laboratory of ideas, a place where creativity is encouraged, where imagination is welcomed, and where brilliant minds can come together to experiment with new ways of living. Many new ideas will materialize there, okay? And it will be truly fascinating to watch those ideas evolve into real creations. Just imagine it for a moment. Now, as you can see, the weather forced me to change my shirt once more. Moving on. Mathematicians connecting to develop the equations behind new energy technologies, engineers taking those ideas and transforming them into real systems like energy towers, sustainable infrastructure, and new transportation concepts, architects designing beautiful communities that harmonize with nature, biologists exploring regenerative ecosystems, teachers creating new forms of education that inspires curiosity rather than conformity, artists shaping the culture, the beauty, and the spirit of the community, and others, people like you and I, will also bring their unique talents, their creativity, and their passion into the mix. How does this sound to you? Are you ready to connect within our community to start creating our dream world, piece by piece, idea by idea, and collaboration by collaboration? That's how we will build our future, through shared inspiration, collaboration, and a new way of being together. Through people coming together because something inside them says, yes, I want to help create that. Okay? And when enough people feel that spark at the same time, entire worlds can be built. Okay? Now take a moment and imagine what this first micro-civilization might look like. Instead of a massive city of millions, a place dominated by noise, traffic, and endless pressure, a smaller, beautifully designed community where everything has been created with intention, a place where nature and technology live in harmony. Picture wide walking paths surrounded by gardens and trees, small lakes reflecting sunlight, homes built with beautiful natural materials designed to be both elegant and sustainable. Imagine it. Just a calm environment where people can breathe, think, and create. At the heart of the community, there could be open gathering spaces, places where citizens meet to share ideas and collaborate on new projects, innovation labs where engineers and inventors experiment with new technologies, creative studios where artists, musicians, and designers bring beauty into the world, educational centers where children are not forced to memorize information but encouraged to explore their curiosity and discover their natural talents. Wow! Food would be grown locally in regenerative gardens and greenhouses. Clean water would flow naturally through well-designed systems that respect the environment. Energy systems would be designed by brilliant minds among us. Perhaps new forms of energy towers, resonance technologies, or solutions we have not even imagined will be discovered. And the most important part of all, every person would contribute through their passion, okay? Some would design, some would build, some would teach, some would grow food, some would create art, music, or culture, and some would simply bring ideas that inspire others, right? Because every talent matters, every passion matters, every human being carries a unique spark that the world absolutely needs. And when you gather people who truly live from that spark, something extraordinary happens. Communities begin to flourish, innovation accelerates, and the future begins to appear much faster than anyone expected. Our first micro-civilization would still have room to grow, and that is exactly the point. It would be an evolving experiment, a place where humanity can explore a new model of living together. One based on freedom, creativity, collaboration, and trust. A place where the golden future is something we practice, something we experience, something we build together. And once the first seed is planted, other communities will begin to appear. Other groups will take inspiration. Other locations around the world will start their own versions, okay? And slowly but surely, the old system will fade away because humanity discovered something better, something more beautiful, something more aligned with who we truly are. And it all begins with a single step, choosing the place where we plant the first seed. So the question now becomes, how will we choose the location, right? Because if we truly want to build a passion-based micro-civilization, the process itself must reflect the values we stand for, free from top-down decisions, free from hidden boardroom meetings, free from small groups deciding the future for everyone else. Instead, we do it the way a passion-based society naturally works, through open collaboration. The first step is simple: we gather ideas. Anyone within the Cosmic Citizen community can propose a location. It could be a coastal region, an island, a rural valley, a place near existing infrastructure, somewhere on Earth that offers both freedom and opportunity. Once locations are proposed, we begin exploring them together. We look at important factors. Is the legislation supportive of experimental communities? Is land available? Does the region allow innovation in sustainable technology? Is there access to clean water and nature? Is the environment stable and peaceful? These practical considerations matter because while our vision is extraordinary, it must also be grounded in reality. Okay? Then comes the most important step. The community begins to discuss, explore, and feel into the possibilities. People will share research. Others will present potential advantages or challenges. Some might even travel to these locations to see them with their own eyes. And gradually, something beautiful will happen. One location will begin to resonate more strongly than the others. You will feel it. The energy will build around it. People will begin saying, yes, this feels right. And when that happens, the decision will feel natural, like a seed finding the soil where it is meant to grow. That is how we will choose the location, through alignment, because when a group of conscious individuals move together with clarity and inspiration, decisions begin to organize themselves. Okay? Once a location is chosen, everything changes. The vision becomes a project, the project becomes a community, and the community becomes the first living example of a true passion-based society. The first step of the golden future, and who knows, hundreds of years from now, people might look back and say, that is where it all began. If you enjoyed this episode, gently press the like button. And if you feel aligned with the vision of the golden future, then gently press the subscribe button. So we can begin communicating, planning, investigating, and ultimately building. My name is Raoul Oosterlen, and these videos are recorded in the Low Countries. I truly appreciate you and thank you for being part of this awakening.